beautiful building of the Vasa Museum. It's this big brown one with the 3 big red masts. And you see, did you know that the mast in the middle actually has the same height as the original ship, 52 meters. Now you can imagine how big Vasa was, and that's exactly the reason why she sank. She was too big, too high, and too narrow. Exactly like the ocean bus you're sitting in right now. It was year 1628 where Vasa began the journey by the castle. She went this way on her way to Poland, but she only made it around the bend by the Newsmith Park before she sank on a maiden voyage. So you can't say that she was Sweden's first submarine. And Vasa, she remained at the bottom of the sea for over 300 years until a guy named Anders Franzén was able to find her in the mid-1900s. She is the only sister ship from the 1600s. There's no other in the world. Visste ni att innan Vasa far iväg hade man faktiskt gjort en stabilitetstest på den när han låg förtöjd i vattnet vid slottet. Då hade man låtit 30 man springa fram och tillbaka för översta däck, men bara cirka 10 gånger så höll hon på att kantra. Men vår krigarkung Gustav II Adolf tyckte att hon skulle väga ändå. Och ja, vi vet ju alla hur det slutade. Botten upp så att säga. Here on your left hand side you also find a big brown building, that is the Nordic Museum. It was finished in 1907. When our king turned 70, he partied for 3 days straight. One of the days was spent here at the Nordic Museum because that's the biggest room in the country, churches excluded. We are now going to make a tour because I want to show you the beautiful island of Castellholmen. It's located here on your right hand side. You will start to see a big round tower appearing here behind the trees. I would say almost like a gingerbread house. I hope that the Etzel boat isn't in the way. You see that flag flying on top of the tower is a very important one. Does anyone know why? We call it the peace flag, and it symbolizes that Sweden hasn't been invaded by any foreign power, and it has been flying up there for the past 200 years, except for one morning. On the 17th of May 1996, you can find a Norwegian flag up there. You know, us Swedes, we were going crazy, of course. We started calling the newspapers, the police, the military, asking how all of a sudden been invaded by Norway. No, just relax. The truth was that some Norwegian students had snuck up the tower and they changed the Swedish flag for a Norwegian one, just to have a joke with the big brother neighbor, of course. And this is on the 17th of May, because that's Norway's Independence Day. Here on your left-hand side, you find Skeppsholmen, the ship's island. And this used to be Stockholm's naval station for about 300 years, so where all the Navy ships were parked, until the Pearl Harbor attack happened back in 1941. And that made those Swedes think that it's not so smart to have a military base in the middle of the city, so moved the naval station into the archipelago to the island of Muskö, where it's still located. Här på vänstra sidan hittar ni alltså Skeppsholmen, Stockholms för detta örlogsstation. Var då örlogsstationen ungefär 300 år tills Pearl Harbor-attacken skedde 1941, så fick de svenska myndigheterna att bestämma sig att flytta örlogsstationen ut i skärgården till ön Muskö, där det fortfarande är stationerad. And now I want to take a moment to talk about the strongest girl in the world. Vem är världens starkaste tjej? Den starkaste mädchen jag vet. Who is it? Pippi Longstocking, of course. And inside of Junibacken, this yellow building back here on your right hand side, you can meet Pippi as well as a bunch of other Astrid Lindgren characters. And did you know that Pippi, she celebrates her 80th birthday this year? And we in Sweden, we actually love Pippi and Astrid Lindgren so much that we decided to print both of them on our 20 notes. And I'm going to pass around a copy here of it so that you all can have a look at it. And did you know that if you look really closely into these books, you can find some quotes from Astrid, so look out for that. Astrid Lindgren, she was a talented author. She has sold over 150 million books that have been translated into over 100 languages, and she's the 20th most translated author of all time. Astrid, she died back in 2002 at 94 years old, and her funeral was like a state funeral. You know, everyone was there, almost all the royals, as well as our former Prime Minister, Göran Persson. And to honor Astrid Lindgren, I feel that we have to play the Swedish Pippi song. So that we can park it where we want in the city center, of course. And behind the roll.
الدورة اللي كندوروها في هذا الشط هذا اولا في هذا البلاصه هذه الناحيه هذه المنطقه كاينين كي قلت لكم بزاف ديال المتاحف. كاين متحف ديال واحد دايرين منه قصص للأطفال. البطلة ديالها اسمها بيبي لونستروم، والكاتبة ديال هذا الفيلم ديال الرسوم المتحركة معروفة، وحدة كبيرة يعني كاتبة معروفة، يعني بكثرت اللي هي يعني معروفة وقديمة، حتى داروها في الفلوس، طبعوها في الفلوس اللي كتشوفوا دابا. سميتها أستريد، أستريد أنا إيميليا.
We are now cruising by Strandvägen, the road by the beach, or shore directly translated. This is probably one of the most exclusive addresses in all of Scandinavia. If you want to buy an apartment here, well, then I reckon you have to pay around 30,000 euros per square meter. So in other currencies, around 30,000 US dollars or around 300,000 Swedish crowns. So if you have that money, please go ahead. And the city planners actually talked about Strandvägen for a really long time, about 40 years, because they wanted each building to look like a castle themselves. And looking at it today, I can say that the visionary was far off. In the novel park is every single tree except for one. Does anyone know which tree it is? It's really hard. Had a lady the other day get palm trees. They didn't grow here in Scandinavia, unfortunately. Well, it's björken in Swedish, a mountain birch, and the reason that it can't grow here in Stockholm is that it's too warm, so it only grows up in the north. And as I said, the park is of course named after the brilliant man Alfred. When he died in 1896, he left 355 patents off him and a big chunk of money. So that this money should be endowed to the greatest of mankind. And by that he meant the men and women who have done extremely well with the physics, literature, science, medicine, piecework, also known as the Nobel Prize, of course. Straight ahead, a bit on your left hand side, you also find a big grey tower, and that is Kaknästornet, the Cookie Nose Tower, directly translated. It's Stockholm's tallest building, is 100 centimeters high and located on Gärdet. It was open to the public until 2019, but it had to be closed down because of security reasons. All on the left-hand side of the shore you find a beautiful US residence, and it seems like they are preparing for some kind of party there, so I know maybe you get an invite from the American ambassador, hopefully. The white building has had the same owner since it was built, and that's the UK's residence. And the brown building on the left-hand side of the white one was the most expensive private home to be sold in Sweden. Back in 2001, it went for 7 million euros. And besides these three buildings, you can find embassies here from all around the world. You find embassies of Saudi Arabia, South Korea, US, Germany, UK, Hungary, Israel, Japan, Turkey. The list goes on. Now you're probably all sitting and wondering, well, where can I find the Norwegian embassy? I'm gonna show it to you. If you look on your right hand side up at that hill, you will find it. Isn't it cute, the little wooden house over there? Maybe that's the Swedish flag that the Norwegians stole from us earlier at Castellholmen. Oh, I'm just kidding, of course. That wooden house up there is not the Norwegian embassy, but it was actually a gift from Norway, so does that count? But that wooden house up there is part of the open air museum Skansen that I talked about earlier.
ففي كل قصة كتعاودها لينا على المتاحف اللي دزنا عليهم، كتحاول تحط أغنية اللي كتناسب ليهم، يعني اللي مخرجين على هذيك المتحف. مثلا كما عودتنا على بطلة فيلم هذيك البنت الطفله اللي صنعوها غير في الخيال ديالهم. عندنا شعرها قال لك كان طويل وكتضفرو كدير جوج قرينات وكتبقى زعما هي قويه كانت.
Start to fill bottom of the sea, then he will push a button and the back wheels will start to spin, hopefully. And in Sweden we have a saying called hold your thumbs, which means good luck. We actually don't cross our fingers in Sweden because this actually means that we're lying, especially when we do it behind our backs. So could everyone please hold the thumbs, your captain? He really needs it.
ودابا راحنا وصلنا للنهايه ديال الجوله ديالنا في الماء. فهذا المنظر كان زوين بصراحه، وكي قلت لكم ها دايره لنا واحد الاغنيه. على حساب نهاية الجولة ديالنا حنا طالعين اليابسة. كي كتشوفوا تبعوا معايا المنظر هائل بصراحة، شي حاجة عظيمة واعرة. هاد الجولة عجبتني انا بزاف. شتيو كي تتشوفوا هطلع الطوبيس، طلع من الماء، ها هو طلع على اليابسة على الارضية. وهذا الشيء كيثير انتباه ديال الدراري الصغار اكثر شيء وتا الكبار. و
And to celebrate that we still are alive, we have to listen to some ABBA, right?
ايوا هاد الشيء يعني مهم بزاف. كتعاود لهم التاريخ والقصص وهذا ديال السويد، وفي نفس الوقت كيتمتعوا بمناظر زوينه. احنا خارجين للطريق عاوتاني باش احنا راجعين. اسمحوا لي ما نقدش نحط لكم الموسيقى، عندنا ممنوع في اليوتيوب، يعني ماشي ممنوع انما ما يمكنش نحطوا موسيقى ديال شي حد اخر اللي كتبان شي حد اخر نحطوها نستعملوها حنايا في الفيديوهات ديالنا، فكيديروا لنا حظر. فداكشي علاش انا كنحاول نحيد الصوت ديال الاغاني. المهم هذه هي طريقنا، حنا راجعين دابا على طريقنا. في نفس الوقت فاش كنا غاديين على الجهه اليمنيه كاع الطريق والبنايات والحوايج المهمه اللي كتذكر
In details, sorry to all the Norwegians on board for earlier. Hope you're not angry with me. The cool thing about this building is that you can't see that much of it, because half of it is hidden inside the mountain. And they built it this way so that it wouldn't take up too much space in the neighborhood.
كنتمنى على الله يا ربي يعجبكم هذا الفيديو. هذا انا عجبني بزاف لان عشتو نتوما، كنظن غادي يعجبكم وغادي تمتعوا. اول شيء بالمناظر ديال البنايات ديال وسط مدينة ستوكهولم. اهم منطقة هنايا اللي قريبة للقصر ديال الملك. كي ذكرت لكم يعني هذاك البرلمان والمحكمة الكبيرة وكل شيء مجموعين في جهة وحدة، هذه اللي صورت لكم في أول فيديو. كانت اتمنى على الله تمتعوا معنا البنايات الشامخة ديال ستوكهولم. انا كتعجبني بصراحة، كتعجبني ستوكهولم لان عشت فيها عمر لمدة 27 عام، راه ماشي سهلة بصراحة. حتى انا كنت محتاجه بحالكم هكا، محتاجه ندور ونتسارى شويه نتمتع ونبدل الجو. كي كتشوفوا الجو ديال
We are now on Strandvägen, the Sluso address I mentioned earlier in the water. Construction started back in 1800s, World's Fair in 1897. And the apartments, they're big today, but they were huge back then, with up to 20 to 30 rooms each. And of course, some famous people have been living here on Strandvägen. For example, Ingrid Bergman. She lived on Strandvägen as a child. Ingrid was a very famous Swedish actress. She has won 3 Oscars and has been ranked by the American Film Institute as the 4th greatest female star of all time. Ingrid, she's mostly known for her role as Ilsa in Casablanca from 1942. We always have Paris, or as our captain always says, we always have ocean bulls.
دابا وصلنا لنهاية الفيديو، وكنتمنى الله يعجبكم وأمسية سعيدة للجميع.